Nafs, inner self, ego or soul. Nafs is an Arabic word cognate of the Hebrew word which occurs in the Quran and means self, ego or soul. In its unrefined state, the ego nafs is the lowest dimension of man's inward existence, his animal and satanic nature. Nafs is an important concept in the Islamic tradition, especially within Islamic Sufis. Nafs means inner self, the evil side of your soul. It varies for every person. It's meant to be a little black spot on the area where the person's heart is. It is mentioned in the hadith that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had this spot removed. Nafs is the evil form of the soul. Basically, there's a good side and a bad side. There are three principal stages of nafs which are specifically mentioned in the Quran. They are stages in the process of development, refinement and mastery of the nafs. 1. The inciting nafs. In its primitive stage, the nafs incites us to commit evil. This is the nafs as the lower self, the base instincts. In the eponymous surah of the Quran, the Prophet Joseph says, "Yet I claim not that my nafs was innocent. Verily the nafs of man incites to evil." Quran 12:53. Islam emphasizes the importance of fighting nafs because the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said after returning from a war, "We now return from the small struggle to the big struggle." His companions asked, "O Prophet of God, what is the big struggle?" He replied, "The struggle against nafs, inner self, ego and soul." The Quran enjoins the faithful to enter the nafs from lust, Quran 79:40. And at another place Prophet, peace be upon him, warns that the worst enemy you have is the nafs between your sides. It is said that the nafs has a rosary and a Quran in its right hand, and a scimitar and dagger in the sleeve. Animal imagery is often used to describe the nafs. A popular image is a donkey or unruly horse that must be trained and broken so that eventually it will bear its rider to the goal. 2. The self-accusing nafs. The Quran mentions the self-accusing nafs. Quran 75:2. This is the stage where the conscience is awakened and the self accuses one for listening to one's ego. One repents and asks for forgiveness. Here the nafs is inspired by your heart, sees the results of your actions, agrees with your brain, sees your weaknesses, and aspires to perfection. 3. The nafs at peace. The Quran mentions the nafs at peace. Quran 89:27. This is the ideal stage of ego for Sufis. On this level one is firm in one's faith and leaves bad manners behind. The soul becomes tranquil, at peace. At this stage Sufis have relieved themselves of all materialism and worldly problems and are satisfied with the will of God. There are also 4 additional stages of nafs. In addition to the 3 principal stages, another 4 are sometimes cited. 1. The inspired nafs. This stage comes between the 2nd and 3rd principal stages. It is the stage of action. On this level one becomes more firm in listening to one's conscience, but is not yet surrendered. Once you have seen your weaknesses and have set your targets, this ego inspires you to do good deeds and to be on the plus side. The Sufis say that it is important that whenever you think of good, you must immediately act upon it. There are 3 rules to it. 1. Swiftness. A good deed must be done immediately and there should be no laziness. 2. Contempt. You must look at your good acts with contempt, otherwise you will become self-righteous. 3. Secrecy. You must keep your good acts secret, otherwise people will praise you and it will make you self-righteous. According to the Quran, charity should be given both secretly and openly. In Muhammad Assad's translation of the Quran, 1431 reads, "And tell those of my servants who have attained to faith that they should be constant in prayer and spend in our way, secretly and openly, out of what we provide for them as sustenance, ere there come a day when there will be no bargaining, and no mutual befriending." 2. The pleased nafs. The stage comes after the 3rd principal stage. On this level one is pleased with whatever comes from Allah and doesn't live in the past or future, but in the moment. One always sees oneself as weak and in need of Allah. 3. The pleasing nafs. On this level the 2 ruhs in man have made peace. One is soft and tolerant with people and has good manners. 4. The pure nafs. On this level one is dressed in the attributes of the perfected man, who is completely surrendered and inspired by Allah. 1 is in full agreement with the will of Allah. Characteristics of nafs. In its primitive state the nafs has 7 heads that must be defeated. 1. False pride, 2. Greed, 3. Envy, 4. Lust, 5. Backbiting, 6. Stinginess, 7. Malice,